And now at this time, we were to have presented a citation to Bill Saxon. And it's my difficult task to tell you that Bill was really looking forward to this day. I don't think anyone's ever loved the University of Oklahoma more than Bill. Grew up as a child in the shadow of this campus. And unfortunately, after Christmas, he was not feeling well, went in for a diagnosis, and received a very serious diagnosis. He is critically ill. He is at his home in Dallas, and by the way, we are live streaming, and his daughter Sandy is with him, and we hope that he is watching these ceremonies right now. So he is very much with us in every way, in spirit. We talked a couple of weeks ago. He was planning to come, even if in a wheelchair. He was determined to be here. This is where he wanted to be. And 3 or 4 days ago, it just became too weak to be able to come. But as I said, he is here. I had a wonderful, wonderful privilege 2 days ago of being in Dallas and being able to go see Bill personally and to have a wonderful, heartwarming visit with this very special friend of so many people in this room. But he also sent as his representative today, his son Steve Saxon and his wife Kathy. Steve will represent his father today at noon. Bill had composed a few remarks to make, and Steve Saxon will come and make those remarks. Bill Saxon will be presented by Trip Hall, his longtime friend. Trip is Vice President of University Development, as many of you know. Many of you have been touched by Trip Hall as he's been raising funds for the university. He earned his bachelor's degree in journalism in 1986. He began his career while still an OU student working in the alumni office under Paul Massett. So he started out working in development while he was still a student. He became a driver for Molly and for me when he was either 16 or 17 in our campaigns. And his excellent driving clearly led to the vice presidency of the university in development. He later joined me when I was serving as a U.S. Senator as a field representative, ultimately becoming my director for Eastern Oklahoma. He returned to OU in 1994 as assistant director of the Alumni Association, serving in a number of leadership positions before becoming vice president for development. During his time leading the Alumni Association, the number of alumni clubs in the United States and overseas tripled. So he has provided extraordinary leadership for the University of Oklahoma. And it's my pleasure now to present Trip Hall, who will present Bill Saxon into the membership of the Honorary Degree Society of the university. Trip Hall.
It is my pleasure to introduce Bill Saxon to you today, a friendship that I have cherished over 33 years. Many of you know that Bill Saxon is a leader in the oil and gas industry. He founded Saxon Oil, a small independent oil and gas company at the beginning that became worldwide, engaged in acquisitions, in development, and in the production of oil and natural gas reserves. This is where he served as chairman of the board. At OU, he advanced the arts and the culture of Oklahoma through his support of OU's two major museums, the Sam Noble Oklahoma Museum of Natural History and the Fred Jones Jr. Museum of Art, both of which are enjoyed annually by thousands of visitors. At the Fred Jones Jr. Museum of Art, he created the Walidine Saxon Memorial Lecture Series in honor of his late wife, which is bringing together to the university distinguished artists, collections, collectors, authors to the state where they will all share their expertise with fellow Oklahomans and visitors worldwide. This lecture series is a reflection of his late wife's commitment to the arts and art history and her service on the Fred Jones Jr. Museum of Art Board of Directors. Mr. Saxon is a recipient of the Regents Alumni Award and has helped build and maintain the cornerstones of the University of Oklahoma. He has provided support to the Boyd House Renovation Project, the OU Centennial Arches, the Energy Center, numerous academic programs, and athletic projects. He is a life member of the President's Associates and the OU Alumni Association, and he recently was inducted in the OU Seed Sower Society, which honors those individuals who has given support to the university of $1 million or more. Mr. Saxon has given his time and provided guidance and leadership to numerous organizations and boards all across our campus. The Reach for Excellence campaign, the Centennial Committee, the Energy Center for External Advisory Board, the Sam Noble Museum, the Price College of Alumni Council and Alumni Board, and most recently, the OU Scholarship Campaign. In 1951, Mr. Saxon received his degree in Business Administration and Petroleum Management. In closing, the University of Oklahoma salutes you, Bill, for your service to our country in which he'd won the Silver Star, for the dedication to the petroleum industry, to the love of dear friends and family. You have never said no to me in the 20 years I have been at the University of Oklahoma. And for that, you look across our 3 campuses at the beauty and what we have inside and out. The quality that you've brought to the university has made a true difference. Thank you for your gifts, for your support, and for your care and love.
Steve Saxon will now come forward and receive the honorary degree for his father. Thank you very much, and what a privilege it is to have Steve here with us, and he will read a few words from his father. But as I said, we're very hopeful, if technology is working as it should, that Bill is watching us from his bed in Dallas, and he's able to see these ceremonies because he so much wanted to be here. And Bill, so you'll know what you saw from that standing ovation, I just ask you one more time, maybe this audience wants to turn and look at the camera that is right back here and give Bill Saxon another round of applause for his love for the university. You know, I always express the hope to our students that they'll find a cause more important than themselves, an institution more important than themselves, in which they can invest their lives, because that's what brings us true meaning and happiness. It allows our values and our influence to continue forever and ever through great institutions like the university. Bill Saxon's done that, just invested his life in the University of Oklahoma. And Steve, we are so appreciative of your being here today to accept this award on behalf of your father. Would you please say a few words to us?
First of all, on behalf of the Saxon family, my sisters Sandy and Sherry, my wife Kathy, and all the next generation, Brett, Pierce, Henry, Saxon, Andrew, Alex, and Emilio, and all our aunts, uncles, and cousins, most of which went to OU and are right here in Norman. I want to thank President Boren and Molly and the Board of Regents and the university for honoring my father. When he received the Regents Alumni Award last year, he felt he'd reached the pinnacle of his experience at the University of Oklahoma. So when President Boren called to tell him of the university's decision on this honor, he was literally speechless. And for those of you who know him, that doesn't happen very often, as in never. So from our family, thank you very much. As President Boren said, he put down in writing what he wanted to communicate today. So in his words, Trip Hall and President Boren just told you about what I've done after graduating from OU in 1951. I want to briefly tell you about what I did before I left OU in 1951. I'm from Norman. I grew up here in the Depression when Norman, including the university, had a population of about 12,000. I often say I rode my bicycle over every sidewalk at OU and knew where all the cracks were. I worked as a janitor while in high school cleaning OU classrooms. I hung out on the campus corner where there were a couple of drugstores, a couple of pool halls, and later a movie theater. I worked at a flower shop on the corner while going to college, all the time loving everything about the life I was living. I thought I was part of the OU student body when I was 10 years old, taking clarinet lessons from an OU undergrad at Holmberg Hall. I sold Cokes at OU football and basketball games. In fact, I asked my wife, Wiladine, to marry me in the parking lot outside an OU basketball game, and then rushed her in so we wouldn't miss the tip-off. She and I loved and supported OU for all of the 52 years we had together. Everything about OU was a part of me. Grade school, high school, it was just there for me. There's another guy from Norman, my best friend. We grew up back door to back door, same age, who grew up much like I did, wrong side of town. We knew him as Jim Bumgarner. Everyone knows him now as James Garner. Jim is very ill and has been bedridden for 6 years. On my last visit to see him, I said, Jim, do you remember getting the Honorary Doctorate from OU? He raised his head up and said yes. I said, David Boren just called and OU is honoring me with one too. He raised his head again and actually smiled for the first time in 6 years. He stuck out his hand. I took it, and we held hands for quite a while, both crying. I knew he was thinking the same thing I was thinking. And this is where my dad struggled. How could he convey to this audience the unspoken feeling between true friends of over 80 years? How could he communicate how they looked at each other and wondered, how could this happen to us? How could two best friends come from nothing and both receive the University of Oklahoma's highest honor? Well, I'll give it a shot. As he described, he grew up on the northeast side of Norman, the poor side of town, in a series of plain wooden houses, brutally poor, as were so many during the Depression. His favorite line about his upbringing, and I can't believe he didn't use it, was that they were so poor they didn't even have an address. They just had to tell people they lived on the north end of Cockrell. Now it's the corner of, ironically, Rich and Cockrell. And across town, the University of Oklahoma, with its imposing red brick and stone Gothic buildings, vast green lawns, professors walking through campus, young men and women in nicer clothes than he had ever seen. At first, just being on campus was a thrill. Then he got to work here. Then the GI Bill allowed him to actually be a student. He worked hard, got married, and graduated. Family and hard work followed, and then he was actually in a position to give back. In his mind, a privilege. He just said today to Father Hill at Church of the Incarnation, who congratulated him on his award and for all of his gifts to the university, he said, there's always more to do, even today. The university opened up the world for him, and did he make the most of it? The town of Norman, his parents, and his church gave him his moral compass, but the university gave him the confidence to take on the world. From the north end of Cockrell, via the university, he fought in the Korean War, embarked on his career, made millions, traveled the world, raised a family with my mother at his side, employed hundreds of people, influenced young men, played a lot of golf, laughed and lived, suffered and survived, And he did it all from what he learned right here in Norman and at the university. As President Bourne said, he will not be with us in this world very much longer. After all those years and that big life he created, he will be at the IOF Cemetery on North Porter, about a mile from the north end of Cockrell. And how fitting is that? A young man comes from modest means, is formed by his town and his university, goes out and makes it in the world in every way possible, in love and family and business and friends, and comes full circle back to his beginnings. To me, the perfect result from the combination of a great institution and an exceptional young man. So my estimation of the look and the feeling between those two longtime friends, knowing where they came from, appreciating their good fortune, amazed that the university would be so nice to them, and finally, sharing their love of Norman and the University of Oklahoma. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. And as I told Bill a couple of days ago, he'll always be part of the University of Oklahoma. His fingerprints, his impact, his spirit, and his values will always be a part of who we are and how fortunate we are that that is true.